President Trump is pitching, and it's sending shockwaves through the world of diplomacy. Today, we're diving deep into the United States' evolving and often controversial stance on two of the planet's most intractable conflicts, Gaza and Ukraine. Before we dive in, let's set the stage. The world is watching as the United States, under President Trump's leadership, takes bold and controversial stances on these long-standing conflicts. So, let's break it down, starting with the situation in Gaza. Gaza has been a hotbed of conflict for decades, but Trump's recent declarations have taken many by surprise. Trump unveiled a plan so audacious it's left diplomats worldwide scrambling for words. The crux of it? Trump wants the United States to essentially take over the Gaza Strip. Yes, the President of the United States is proposing American control over this contentious piece of land. But why? Trump frames this as a humanitarian mission, a chance to rebuild and revitalize a war-torn region. Let's look at the numbers. After more than a year of intense conflict, about 70% of Gaza's infrastructure lies in ruins. Homes, hospitals, schools, all reduced to rubble. Trump sees this devastation as an opportunity for American intervention and reconstruction. The plan, as Trump outlines it, involves several stages. First, there's the immediate humanitarian response, clearing unexploded ordnance, removing debris, and providing emergency aid. But it doesn't stop there. Trump envisions a complete transformation of Gaza, turning it into what he calls the Riviera of the Middle East. We're talking new hotels, office buildings, houses, a complete urban renewal project under American supervision. Trump's proposal includes relocating the entire population of Gaza to neighboring countries like Jordan and Egypt. And here's the kicker. According to Trump, these Palestinians would have no right to return. It's a proposal that flies in the face of international law and decades of diplomatic efforts towards a two-state solution. The international reaction has been swift and largely negative. Arab nations, particularly those Trump expects to take in Palestinian refugees, have sharply criticized the plan. Jordan and Egypt have flatly rejected the idea of absorbing large numbers of Palestinians. This isn't just about logistics. It's about national identity, regional stability, and long-standing geopolitical tensions. Human rights organizations and legal scholars have also sounded the alarm. They point out that forcibly displacing an entire population isn't just morally questionable. It's a violation of international law. But is this all just a negotiation tactic? Some analysts suggest that this bold proposal might be a starting point, a way to shake up stagnant peace talks and force new discussions. It's a classic Trump move. Start with an extreme position and then negotiate back from there. However, Trump's repeated insistence on the plan and his threat to potentially withhold aid from countries that don't cooperate suggest he's serious about moving forward. The domestic reaction in the United States has been mixed. Some of Trump's base sees this as a bold move to solve a long-standing problem, praising his willingness to think outside the diplomatic box. Critics, however, argue that this plan could further destabilize an already volatile region and damage America's standing in the international community. Now, let's shift our focus to Ukraine, where Trump's approach is equally unconventional. While we don't have specific search results about his most recent statements on Ukraine, Trump has consistently positioned himself as someone who can end the conflict quickly. He's hinted at direct talks with Putin, framing himself as the dealmaker who can bring peace where others have failed. Critics argue that Trump's approach might involve concessions to Russia that could compromise Ukraine's sovereignty. There are fears that, in his eagerness to make a deal, Trump might be willing to recognize Russian control over Crimea or parts of eastern Ukraine, effectively rewarding Russia's aggression. On the other hand, supporters of Trump's approach argue that his unconventional diplomacy and personal relationship with Putin could lead to a breakthrough where traditional diplomatic channels have failed. They point to his business background, suggesting that he could bring a fresh, deal-making perspective to a conflict that has resisted conventional solutions. But can Trump actually end this conflict? The reality is that the situation in Ukraine is incredibly complex, involving not just Russia and Ukraine, but also NATO, the European Union, and broader geopolitical interests. Any resolution would require careful diplomacy and likely difficult compromises on all sides. There are several factors to consider. First, there's the question of Ukraine's territorial integrity. Any deal that cedes territory to Russia would be seen as a betrayal by many Ukrainians and could lead to internal political turmoil. Second, there's the broader issue of NATO expansion and Russia's sphere of influence in Eastern Europe. A deal that's seen as too favorable to Russia could alarm other Eastern European countries and strain U.S. relationships with NATO allies. Trump's approach to both Gaza and Ukraine represents a significant departure from traditional U.S. foreign policy. In both cases, he's proposing solutions that prioritize quick results over long-term stability and international consensus. This reflects a broader shift in how Trump views America's role in the world. This approach has its risks. In the case of Gaza, it could further inflame tensions in the Middle East and damage America's relationships with key Arab allies. In Ukraine, a deal that's seen as too favorable to Russia could undermine U.S. credibility with its NATO allies and embolden Russian aggression elsewhere. As we conclude this analysis, it's clear that we're at a pivotal moment in U.S. foreign policy. Trump's approaches to both Gaza and Ukraine represent significant departures from diplomatic norms, and their potential impacts are far-reaching. Whether these bold strategies will lead to lasting peace or further complications remains to be seen. What's certain is that the world is watching, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think about Trump's Gaza and Ukraine positions? Do you think Trump's deal-making skills could bring about peace, or is his approach too simplistic for such a complex conflict? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this analysis informative and thought-provoking, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Your support helps us continue to bring you in-depth coverage of the most important global issues. Thanks for watching Fin&Future, and we'll see you in the next video as we continue to unpack the complexities of our ever-changing world.